That's what they put in Pop Rocks. That's what makes it fizzle.
Asbestos?
Mm-hmm. That's why you can't find it anymore.
Why they don't burn.
That's right.
Welcome to INS, the International News Service, your source for the most important weird news from across the globe. With news analyst Kevin Harrison, actor, comedian, and musician Mike Wiebe, and professional commentator Brian Camp. INS, the news you need.
You can't burn Pop Rocks. That used to be like a soldier remedy. They'd carry it on the battlefield. If they ever got shot, they would rip into their body, of course, but also would burn the edges, and so you'd pack the wound with Pop Rocks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then the fizzing action would help clean it too.
I'm pretty sure that's not how that worked at all.
Well, that's why it gets all weird. Like they say Mikey died.
That's why you were in the military and Brian wasn't, Kevin. Oh, wait,
right.
No. The opposite of that is true.
Right. That's day one stuff. No, they always say that Mikey died from Pop Rocks, and people assume it's because he was eating it.
Mikey.
Yeah.
From the Life cereal ads. But no, it's because Mikey was
he likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Across the pond, and he was in country in Nam. They pop, like one guy packed Pop Rocks in and walked away to go help somebody else, and another guy came up and didn't realize he had already had Pop Rocks packed in the bullet hole.
Oh, he double packed
a whole other package, and it was too much, and it kind of overwhelmed his system.
Yeah, it didn't happen at all.
Actually, I know his name's Darkblade. He's the SEAL team. He's a SEAL team guy that actually shot Osama bin Laden. His real name's not Darkblade, but we call him Darkblade. And he was telling me that whenever he shot Obama, or not Obama, hey, for real though, it's weird. Osama bin Laden, Obama. What the fuck was going on with that? Did you guys ever think about that?
Are you been hanging out on 4chan again?
No, here's the other thing too that's weird.
Are you surprised
I think it's weird.
Two names sound similar?
Well, I mean, you know,
Mike, Mikhail Gorbachev.
Here's the other thing too.
The listener, Mike's digging through his files.
That Supreme Court Justice lady Amy Coney Barrett, and that's not weird that her dad is James Comey.
That's not
nobody in the media ever even wanted to talk about that, but I was like, that's fucking weird.
Huh.
Oh, but what I was saying about Darkblade, he was telling me that that whenever he shot Osama bin Laden in the head, there's a thing that they would do, like when they kill somebody and there's when it's like a thing, because what happened is he jumped into that house and he kicked open the door and he shot him in the head with a 30-06.
Say 30-06?
30-06, and it's one of the biggest guns you can get, and it blew his head basically clean off. So there's no in it. But then this is like a funny kind of kill line. He threw a pack of Pop Rocks, like a closed pack of Pop Rocks over at the body, and goes, "Snap, crackle, pop, motherfucker."
Oh, Darkblade.
Was it Darkblade? Steven Seagal?
Snap, crackle, pop, motherfucker.
Are you just describing a Steven Seagal movie?
Well, I mean, Steven Seagal's not the one that Steven Seagal assisted in the raid. I mean, that's famously true.
I like how you'll borrow liberally from any advertising, any branding at all, and fit it in, shoehorn it somehow into Pop Rocks.
Hey, snap, crackle, pop, motherfucker. That's like a real common thing.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about this stuff studying for the Jack Wharton movies.
Oh, I see.
That explains the Steven Seagal level dialogue that's consistent.
Steven Seagal doesn't write any of the dialogue that he's in. He just performs it masterfully.
I wonder, does he ad-lib any of that?
I'm sure. There's no way he memorizes lines. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah, I will have to do a getting to know your pod. It's been done. He's come up a lot on a lot of other podcasts, but I would like to do a rundown of Steven Seagal. They did a 2-part dollop, maybe 3-part dollop on how crazy that fucking guy is. It is wild.
Yeah, go listen to a more popular podcast than ours. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying they don't cover 3 strange news stories. They cover stuff in the far past. We cover stuff in the recent past.
I see.
And also sometimes in the future with I think one of the last episodes we were talking about the future.
Yeah,
or an alternate timeline.
We're on several top 10 future casting podcast lists. So
we're not competing with them.
We're the number 1 quantum magician podcast on the internet.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. We at least have the best information. So.
Yeah, the number 1 podcast for quantum magicians and sound bathers.
Oh, I think sound bathing goes without question. I think that's Well, it's so interesting that quantum magic is something that for really it's existed for years. So it's an old art that kind of fell out of favor, and really a lot of charlatans kind of picked up on it, and that's why there's such a struggle to bring it back. But then you've got on the other side, you've got sound bathing, which really is relatively new. It's an ancient discipline. But I think the way that you're applying it, Mike, and what you've done with it in your studies and in the work you do with the folks is really. I think there's a newness there that I mean, my gosh, if you spoke about sound bathing for just 1 minute, we'd already be the number 1 sound bathing show on the internet.
Yeah. I mean,
thank God you're willing to get into it.
Wow.
I mean, it's simply, I like to say it's just a little log line I throw out there. It's using old world sound bathing disciplines with a funky, fresh, fun technique.
I see.
I want to know how quantum magicians are dealing with quantum computing.
Like today's quantum computing?
Like the rise of that. How did you feel?
Well, the term. It's. Right. I mean, I don't want to speak for all quantum magicians. I do know that that's bled over into our entire sound bathing world. Even where, like, I mean, you can speak on it more, Brian, but I know that they are suing the new Ant-Man movie, Quantum Mania.
Right. I mean, what's that, Mania?
Are you part of that lawsuit, by the way? I know it's a class action.
Absolutely. My group is, at least. I'm not in my individual capacity, but certainly my group's involved.
You mean your cult?
You can call it a cult. We don't really accept labels, but we don't turn them down either. I think when you start fighting a label, you're really inviting more labels. So we just let people call us what they will. That's kind of the quantum magician way.
It's really like, okay. Yeah, no, I'm a prep and you're a fucking thrasher and they're ropers over there. Okay, this is junior high all over again.
I would say with quantum computing, Mark, great question. One of the fascinating things, and it speaks to the way the masses, the people, and really big science, and we talk a lot about big science in the show and some of the inherent, corruptness in what they do and the way they hold themselves out to the world, the so-called hard sciences, which is really just kind of coward science. Big science has lulled people into this belief, and it's so funny, and they're so good at it. And what's so clever is they can call it quantum computing, and no one
that what these quantum computers
Brian,
are
we just
doing
lost your mic.
Is exactly what a quantum magician has done.
We lost you.
We lost your mic.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah. So what you just witnessed and what you guys got a taste of is the silencing factor in what big science. Thinking. I mean, that's what we're on a computer right now, again, mimicking the quantum magician's mind. That's what they so desperately want to achieve, what we've been achieving for centuries. And when they can't achieve it, they stoop to the levels of identifying legitimate quantum magicians and silencing them. And this is just a recording. I mean, come on.
I know.
It's a recording we're making. Right. So
we know what you're up to. We know what you're up to, guys. We know what you're up to.
Very funny. Ha, ha, ha. We're laughing our asses off.
Did that answer your question, Mark?
Yes. Thank you.
So you guys ready to get started here?
With what? What are we doing?
Welcome to the International News Service. We're your hosts. I'm Kevin Harrison, along with...
I am Brian Camp.
I'm Mike Wiebe, and finally, we have our prodigal son. He's made a commitment to be here for every episode for an hour before, an hour after.
Resolved.
For the rest of he's gonna do a 1 hour lead in for every episode, and then he's gonna do.
Wait, how do you leave the meeting?
A lead in. No, lead in, not leaving. Lead in.
We are slaughtering the fatted calf.
Do warm up. He's going to do audience warm up, and then we're going to do the episode, and then he's going to do it's called Talking INS, where he recaps everything that happened and kind of talks about how he thinks that we were feeling, and run some clips from the previous hour.
103 episodes.
Mike, I got to ask a question and everyone chime in. Did we miss a golden opportunity by not having an INS year in review?
I mean, that's more work than I want to do.
I do want to read my jokes from my year in review show.
Okay, that's exciting.
So, and I know we record at a different time, and especially due to Brian's quantum schedule, a lot of times these episodes come out either way before we actually recorded them or a couple weeks after.
Okay.
We don't even all record it at the same time.
Have you done your year in review yet?
Yes.
As of this recording. So when did you do that?
I did it, or I will be doing it. I already did it on June 28th.
June 28th? Like 6 months from now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just did it.
I just did it.
Oh, that was the day that you covered?
Yeah. No, I covered the month of June.
Okay.
But June 2022. I just have 3 jokes.
Okay.
From the month of June 2022.
Okay. So June 2022, we're covering here on January 15th as a year in review of last year, 2 weeks after it ended. Got it.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
January is all about getting your sea legs back of every year. So if we do a year in review that comes after this, well, that would be okay.
There's always a year behind us.
Yeah, there's always a year behind us.
Why does it have to be January?
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to arbitrarily tell us when to start the cycle around the sun. Maybe it's today, Kevin.
I'm not saying that I do, but you do realize this episode was released 5 days after Friday the 13th.
Or was it?
January 22nd is the Chinese New Year. Where does that land?
Oh, that's 4 days after this comes out.
Hell of a question.
Well, let's do a year in review. Chinese New Year in review. It becomes the year of
the rabbit.
Given your financial obligations, Mike.
That's
They're
right.
not obligations. I'm happy to announce we are doing the Chinese year in review, and this is
the pandering continues.
It could be the Taiwan year in review.
I'm not familiar.
Well, then you wouldn't have a part of it, Kevin.
I'm not familiar.
Independent.
That's right. Did you just disclaim knowledge of Taiwan?
Huh?
Are you that beholden to your Chinese overlords?
I don't.
You can't even
listen.
acknowledge that a place called Taiwan exists.
I don't have a fucking globe in front of me to spin around.
Well, your globe probably doesn't have Taiwan on it.
It might not. I don't know. I don't spend all day looking at for whatever cities that aren't there or whatever.
Terrible person.
All right,
it's INS policy to recognize.
Yes, that's right.
Taiwan as a
independent nation.
I'm sure if somebody put up a globe in front of me and pointed at a place and told me it was a place, I would probably be too busy to argue with them about it.
Well,
maybe you could do
how's that for a company man answer?
Maybe you could do a get to know your podcast all about Taiwan.
Ooh,
that'd be great. If you were able to do, that'd be great.
You know what? I will type it in. I have a Huawei computer, and I will type it in, and I'll see what comes up.
That's awesome. Okay, June jokes.
June 4th. 2022, Ann Turner Cook, whose cherubic face was known the world over as the Gerber baby, has died at the age of 95. Her sketched face, drawn in 1927, graced the cover of millions of bottles of baby food over the last century, as she led a full life of her own, raising 6 children and becoming a grandmother to 11 more.
Wow.
Family was most important to Anne. She was constantly surrounded by her loved ones, making them a part of every piece of her life. So it was fitting that at the exact moment of her passing, she was surrounded by her family. Her last moments in this life were spent as her 4 sons, 3 daughters, and 11 grandchildren looked down on her lovingly and proudly. Ann Turner Cook, the Gerber baby, gone at 95. Cause of death, sexual misadventure by way of autoerotic asphyxiation. That is through the paper that is written on like David Letterman.
Yeah, but
June 5th, 2022 marked the final day of the Platinum Jubilee of Elizabeth II, marking the 70th anniversary of the 96-year-old monarch's ascension as the Queen of England. The date also marked her son, Prince Charles' 70th anniversary of the world's most outspoken daydreamer of matricide. 2 months later, the old bag was dead. Prince Charles was giddy as a school lad. You know, folks, this is where I break it down, kind of like it's like I drop the newscaster act, and I get a little. You know, folks, it's difficult for us Americans to understand the significance of royalty. The closest thing we have to a king is Elvis Presley, which isn't actually really that far off, and that Elvis was like a lot of British royalty in that he fucked his own cousin. Maybe somewhere up there in heaven, Elvis and Queen Elizabeth II are having a laugh and bonding over things that they have in common, like eating disgusting foods, being inbred white trash, and stealing from black and brown people. Crowd pleasers. All of them.
Real feel-good jokes.
The next one relies on an impression, and I do not know that I have the juice to give the impression right now.
You can give it a try.
All right.
Mark would, if it's not up to snuff, Mark will cut it out.
Hey, honestly, Mark, it's going to be really easy. If you want to tweak this impression, all you got to do is make my voice real high-pitched. June 30th, 2022, Ted Cruz slams Sesame Street's Elmo after an episode of Sesame Street in which the popular character Elmo tried to comfort children viewers afraid of vaccination shots. Ted Cruz, Texas senator and living example of the term lizard lips, tweeted angrily at the beloved Muppet, "Government propaganda for 5-year-olds. This is Elmo being aggressively advocating vaccination but citing zero evidence." Elmo responded with this statement. "Elmo was just trying to help. Elmo knows shots can be scary, but Elmo doesn't want kids to be scared. Also, Elmo thinks Ted should keep Elmo's name out of Ted's motherfucking mouth. Make no mistake, Elmo will fuck Ted up. Elmo will hit Ted so hard, the only word Ted will be able to say for the rest of his miserable life is manamana." And then I don't have the impression anymore of me, but I'll finish the rest. Then Elmo's going to say, "Then Elmo will fuck Ted's ugly wife in front of Ted and make Ted watch with Ted's dick tucked between Ted's legs. There won't be anything Ted can do about it. Ted better hope Elmo doesn't catch Ted out on these streets, these Sesame Streets." And that was June of 2022.
You captured it, Mike. Thank you.
The zeitgeist.
Wow.
German for time ghost. Are we going to talk about ghosts?
No, there's no ghost stories this week. I'm sorry,
Thank
Brian.
God. I was fucking scared as shit.
Yeah, Mike was shaking. I think some of your hair turned white, Mike. The greatest ghost result there is.
Yep. That actually happened to me, but it was my pubic hair.
There may or may not be a dead body this week. We'll have to see what happens.
Oh, I think the dead body is fucking Ted Cruz, because Elmo just fucking bodied him.
So this week, we've got 2 news stories, an arts and culture story that has a twist of true crime, and Mike has a news story for us in Get to Know Your Podcast. So our first story comes to us from CBS News. And this one may feature an INS hero. I'm going to let you guys decide.
A recognized INS hero or a new INS hero?
A new INS hero.
Oh, okay.
You guys, you decide if he goes on the plaque, if he gets a bust made. So police in Santa Cruz, California, recently arrested a 19-year-old man for what they allege was printing up fake parking tickets and then putting them on cars near the beach. Each ticket apparently had a QR code that, when scanned, directed drivers to a website where they could pay a fine for the fraudulent tickets. Police said they...
Hero. This guy's great.
Police say they don't know how many tickets the man put on cars or how many victims paid the fines, but the man denied receiving any payments. Nevertheless, the man was charged with the unlawful use of a computer system and attempted fraud, and police declined to say whether any cars were actually illegally parked.
Well, I mean, we did this on the, if everybody should follow the INS TikTok account. What is it? Just INS Pod or
it's just,
International?
I think it's
just look up international news service on TikTok.
Yeah,
You'll find it. Kevin usually does a little wrap up every day of some weird news stuff that happens. But during the holiday, I read out a couple of them, and I remember reading this. And this is what makes this guy a hero or a villain. Mm-hmm. He's a hero depending on what neighborhood he did this in. Like if you go do this in a Beverly Hills bougie neighborhood, hero. If you go do this like around a very confusing nightclub type area where there are lots of places you're not allowed to park because the city's trying to ticket you anyway, then you're a villain. If you go do this in a poor neighborhood, you're a villain. If you go do this,
hero all the way. I'm sorry. This is great.
Okay. I'm not even going to argue with you. Give me your point of view, though. I guess it's just like, because it is on some level, you have to do your due diligence to figure out where you're throwing out your money.
Right.
It is a good scam. It's a victimless crime.
No, it's.
What about the people who pay the fines?
Well, yeah, but they're not getting beat up by the Joker or something like that.
No, well, the only way I would I agree with you, Mike, and certainly, if we can feel worse or feel better about people who have a lot of money losing a little bit of money than people who don't have very much money losing a lot of their money, but I would argue that the only people who are paying this fine at all are people who were in fact illegally parked. So no one's making them click on this.
If you get nor denied, at this
doesn't have to be. If you get a ticket and you weren't illegally parked, you don't pay it.
Yeah,
you just ignore it, or you just say this isn't right. I'm going to wait for a letter. But I can't imagine anyone getting in their vehicle that was lawfully placed where it was and just deciding, well, I'm not. I'm going to pay this phantom ticket. So
Brian, to answer your question, or I'm sorry, to Mike, to answer your question about, the neighborhood he did this in, I can tell you that in Santa Cruz, California, in November 2022, the median home price was $1.6 million.
Yeah, no, I know Santa Cruz is and most of the time, it's not even like big ass crazy brand new houses. It's just like California. Santa Cruz is great. I got a bunch of friends in Santa Cruz, and as long as they didn't get tickets, I'm totally okay with this.
Right. I think. What do you think about since we're talking about, what do you think about and this is both more victim, but maybe less victim, people who put the same QR codes on like big stickers on parking kiosks in big parking lots. Like you get a page size sticker with a QR code on it with directions on how to pay for your spot. People just pay. Now they're paying because they think they should pay. They do pay. Now, assuming they're not getting towed for not paying the actual people, I don't know. Is that person more or less heroic?
They're undeniably clever.
It's a good idea, right?
It is undeniably. It's less heroic.
Yeah.
Because you get to really pick and, because here's what I think it's heroic if you get to like pick and choose and go like, fucking Humvee. Yes. Okay. They deserve this. Not that only rich people have Humvees at this point, but it depends on, you get to really pick out your obnoxious,
Let's say you only tickets Teslas
or Audis. You know what they say Audi stands for?
What is that?
Assholes usually drive it. I was in a Tesla I got an Uber, and it happened to be a Tesla, and man, it was pretty fucking comfortable. It was pretty cool in there. I will say that. Just big old giant computer screen. And they just unveiled, it's the same car, but they did something this week with the Tesla Cybertruck, and it looks the same or whatever. And it is one of those things where I was like, I'm on record on this podcast as of being an Elon hater of sorts, and or just not even of sorts. But I gotta say, I love how stupid looking that car. Like that car looks so dumb, and I love it. Like it looks so dumb that if I had fuck you money, I would probably buy one.
Oh yeah, I think they're cool. Look, I'm sure they look to us like DeLoreans look to people whenever the DeLorean came out.
Yeah. They look silly. It looks absolutely silly. There was a picture of one today, and they were like driving it out, and there was a bunch of tweets, and I wrote that if I got one of those, I would use it to haul all my Legos around with. It looks like a car from a video game, and I specifically mean a PlayStation 1 video game.
Yeah.
Like it's a background car in the first Twisted Metal game.
Yeah.
They just needed a model.
Yeah. You know what? Is it they caught the kid? How'd he get caught? I guess that's the question. You got to hide where that money's going.
Yeah. That's the thing is I think you have to call... Somebody probably called the city, like, what the fuck is this? And they're like, well, we didn't do that. And then you just trace the IP. It's like, you know, if you trace money, where the internet domain is registered, and that's a pretty quick process.
Well, you got to do that at the library. I mean, the thing is, like, where the account is going, you know, because the account's got to be going to somebody's name.
But as former 19-year-olds, wouldn't you all agree that the motivation to do something like this is not the same as the motivation to do this over and over again? Isn't this most likely like I'm going to print out a bunch of these and then I'm going to do it, and then you don't do it over and over again. You do it as a lark. You know, it would have been a much bigger story and people would have known that this had been going on for a long time. It would have been like a small time counterfeiter versus we've been looking for this guy forever.
Right. That would be cool though. If there was like a multi-year manhunt for the fraudulent parking ticket guy.
Right. He just showed up in different cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hadn't hit yet.
Like the Grimace Bandits all over again.
So our next story comes to us from the Washington Post.
Wow.
So we have all dealt with the frustration of ineffective customer service phone lines intentionally created by companies to keep customers in an endless loop that never resolves their issues. Now, a Pittsburgh startup called Karens for Hire hopes to change that by getting customers results by being a Karen. The company, which uses the motto, "We Karen so you don't have to," promises to harness the power of accomplished complainers in the service of beaten down customers, abused tenants, and anyone else with a dispute with a company that they don't have time to resolve, which sounds dangerously close to being an attorney. Apparently, the company, which is run by a couple who are both business and romantic partners, has received more than 2,300 requests for help since launching last spring. The couple said they launched the company because they're such good complainers that they became the go-to fixers for relatives and friends who had issues with companies. One owner said, quote, "If something was broken, my mom would just want to throw it away. I would be like, no, they sold us this product that didn't work and we're taking it back. These companies want to make it hard, so you just give up." Some of the cases they've tackled included getting a celebrity to pay for a dress she wore to the Met Gala, getting a refund for a woman after she paid a computer dating company to find her a man who was into hiking, and they instead set up a date with a man who liked wearing women's shoes, and helping a low-income tenant who is being evicted in violation of rental laws, which also sounds dangerously close to being an attorney. The average fee to hire a Karen is around $65, but it's unclear who you go to for help if Karen for Hire can't figure out how to actually speak to the manager.
You know what this sounds like?
What's that?
It sounds like what Mark Harmon taught those two kids to do in summer school when their sunglasses broke.
Exactly. R.I.P. Kirstie Alley. We broke that news, by the way, here.
Kirstie Alley. You heard it here first.
This wasn't 2 weeks late here or anything. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. We broke it when it happened. You know, this kind of weirdly ties back to that last story. And I didn't actually say this of like, it is a little on somebody for just blindly paying a ticket. You know, it sucks to like have to deal with shit like that when it's like false, but like, you know, I think that there's a lot of people who are just like, well, the rules said that I had to do a thing, and I'm not going to even think looking into it at all, because if you looked into that, you'd be not real. Because I got a ticket one South by, and I didn't deserve it, and I was like, no, I'm not going to go pay it, and they were like, well, you can not pay it, or you can contest it, but then because they always do a thing. This is what they do. They always do a fucking thing where, and I had this happen. With it one time I was like sitting waiting for a bus to show up, and I was eating an apple, and I threw the apple core in some bushes, and a cop came up and was like, "Why'd you do that? It was littering." I was like, "Yeah, it was an apple core," and he was like, "It's littering," and I was like, "Well, I mean, I guess, but it was an apple core. It's it's fine. I threw it. It's like, well, the trash is over there." I was like, "Yeah, but it's an apple core." It's fine.
American hero, oft mentioned on the podcast, Johnny Appleseed is famous for doing what you did.
Great.
I said it's biodegradable. He said, look at all of these cigarette butts here on the ground. You know what? Some people say those are biodegradable. And then I looked at him, and I wasn't trying to be snarky. And I go, yeah, but they're not. And I put a little. I think I like accidentally put a little bit too much zhuzh on it. They're not. Because they are. They're not.
Right.
And he got real mad at that and wrote me a ticket. And the same thing happened with his parking ticket where I went and I was like, this is wrong. I'm not gonna pay for this. And they're like, well, you can pay. And the whatever judge is like, you can pay half of it. We'll let you pay half of it. Or you can go to court. But if you lose in court, you have to pay all of it and court fees, which is, whatever, more. And both times I was like, no, I will go all. And I think I've had them do that before and been gotten scared off because I actually did something wrong. And, or like, speeding or whatever, where I was like, I don't think I was speeding. But then I was like, yeah, he probably has a fucking radar detector or whatever.
Yeah, that's how they figure out you're speeding. They don't just.
Well, back in the day, cops didn't always have radar detectors. I'm talking about the early Thunder Road moonshine running days.
Okay.
I watched that recently.
Robert Mitchum.
Yep.
There we go. Me and my younger brother got to run this shine.
You know who was supposed to play his younger brother?
Who?
Elvis Presley.
Oh
man, that would have been a good ass movie.
Yeah.
Colonel wouldn't let him. Wanted too much money.
That's about to say. I bet the Colonel wouldn't let him. Anyway, I won both of them, but you got to take this gamble. I'm down to get on a phone with a company and just leave it on. Put it to speakerphone. Leave it on. Will you hold? And they try and outweigh you. I fought for many a petty grievance. Yeah. I fought for many a double toll that I did not want to pay for. That I think that these companies do it on purpose because they know that 9 out of 10 people won't bother with it. But guess what? This is the 10th motherfucker right here.
So what I hear you saying is on the show, you're applying for a job with Karens for Hire. And that Mike Wiebe...
Well, I don't think that I don't see the only mistake that I think this is a valiant job that they're doing.
Right.
They're sticking up for the little man. But the only bad thing is they shouldn't have called it Karens for Hire. Karens are like racist old bitches, white bitches. Shit.
It's sure sounding a lot like you're saying you're the ultimate Karen of Austin, Texas.
Being a Karen is not going after the fucking airline or the fucking city. None of the things that they were doing were like, wow, these kids like to skateboard nearby.
Okay.
Or like, I hear neighbors having fun. This is not allowed. This is more. This is less civil and more like. What were some of the things again they were doing?
They helped some lady get a letter from Aetna that just said she wasn't covered by Aetna, and she wasted like 6 months on that.
Okay, that's. There could be nothing more pure than going up against a fucking health insurance company.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's nothing less Karen-like.
They helped getting a designer paid. They helped get a designer paid after she designed a dress that a celebrity wore to a Met Gala, and then she refused to pay for or return.
No, so she fucked over a celebrity. Good.
Yeah. She helped getting a refund for a woman who paid a computer dating company to find her a man who was into hiking. And so they set up a date. And then on the date, she found out the man's main interest seemed to be that he liked wearing women's shoes.
I don't know if that one's reasonable, but that one's less reasonable than the other ones. But nonetheless, I don't think that's very Karen. I don't think any of those, except maybe the last one, are actually very Karen. I'm just saying, I like what they're doing. I just don't like the name.
You're looking for hiking and you get the women's shoe guy. Yeah, I think you're not getting results.
Well, why can't you? I mean, we're also sitting here saying that those are mutually exclusive. There's nothing that says that you can't hike and like ladies' shoes.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I think her big concern was the hiking, and she did not get the hiking.
Look at Mystique from the X-Men. I've seen her fight with high heels on the side of a mountain.
Touche. So our next story comes to us from ArtNet, an art news website. We've used ArtNet before in the past. Late last year, the London Metropolitan Police received a call that a person appeared to be unconscious inside an art gallery known as Laz Emporium, which is owned by Banksy's former agent, Steve Lazaridis. The police arrived on the scene to see a woman with messy hair who was slumped over a desk while wearing a mustard-colored hoodie, black sweatpants, and tennis shoes. The door to the gallery was locked, and police were apparently unable to contact the owner, so after about 20 minutes, they forced their way in. What they discovered instead of a dead woman was a sculpture called Christina, which was commissioned by the gallery owner and made mostly from packing tape and foam that was then clothed. Apparently, this isn't the first time this work has caused controversy either. Back in October, paramedics were called after the work appeared at a London art and design fair. The gallery also said the sculpture is not for sale, but if they did put a price tag on it, it would be £18,000 or around $22,000.
I'm confused.
Let me help you out. What do you need?
Were they alleging that? So it was just a prank, and is that it?
No, it was like a work of art.
Was the phone call part of the artwork?
Not as far as they know. Like it was not very clear as to. I kind of looked into this as to who called, and it wasn't super clear as to who called. But it didn't seem to originate with the gallery because the manager at the gallery was like making tea when all this was going down.
This sounds like an art scam. This sounds like
they're not selling anything.
Nah, you start building up a story about this thing that's not for sale, and it's happened twice, and it'll happen a third time, then it'll disappear for 4 or 5 years, and there'll be some story, and it'll be recovered on some yacht that's adrift in the middle of the Pacific.
Yeah.
That's elaborate.
A story as old as time.
I don't think that story's been told before.
So this is Banksy's manager? Is that what I heard?
Banksy's former manager or former agent? Steve
Lazaridis.
Yeah.
Yeah, people call him Steve Lazaridis with the big old TDs.
I don't think anybody calls him that.
Yes, they did. That's why he quit working for Banksy, because Banksy kept calling him that.
Are you guys a little tired about hearing about this Banksy character?
That sounds like something Banksy would say to cause disruption,
is true.
to be honest with you.
Wait, right. Mike, are you saying what I think you're saying?
I'm saying that I saw some Kansas spray paint in Brian's garage.
Right. But no, I mean, this is a real question that it's one of those things, like it's a masterful marketing job, right? I don't know. It just seems like stuff like the edgiest 12th grader in high school would draw, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just a lot of clever marketing around it. Who is he? I mean, tons of people know. If there was any real interest in finding out who he was, you would know. I just don't.
No, I think people do know who Banksy is. Like, they're super credible. Like, it is this specific guy for sure, 100%.
Probably a team of guys, even.
Right.
And girls. Women can be vandals too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think in this particular case, if the artwork was, if the gallery was trying to get attention, they would put the artwork on sale, and they would certainly sell it for more than $22,000.
Well, but you got to build up more. They want to.
Yeah, it's a long game. Like, there's no.
Right, they're setting it up.
I wonder how they made it. It would be really fun to make some here and put out the word that this was here and that you have the original one, and like put a date that's like way, 4 weeks before this. Well, I don't know.
Right. And isn't the con, Mike, like, don't you, like, you still say it's not for sale, then it happens again. And the line is that you don't want to deal with it anymore. You don't want to deal with whatever's going on. So you want to get rid of it. So now then you sell it. Like, you sell it because you're being forced to, because you don't want the responsibility of having this thing anymore. And then you have your other people start feeding stories about it, and you get your shadow auction people to kind of run up the price. You put a high reserve on it. And if you can,
or you create a story that hey, we go make one of these. We plant it somewhere at UT.
UT being the University of Texas.
University of Texas. Yeah. And then you plan a story that, like, it was the original one. And then you plan a story that Matthew McConaughey bought it. At best, people reaching out to Matthew McConaughey's people about it will say that they do not know what you're talking about, which sounds exactly like, oh yeah, he totally bought it. And yeah, it's just all clever marketing, which I'm here for. I think that things work off of a combo of luck and marketing, and I would like more luck or a better marketing budget for anything that I do. Is it supposed to be a boy or a girl?
It's supposed to be a woman. It's named Christina, and it's based on the gallery owner's sister.
Ooh, maybe this is just Christina's long suicide plan.
Yeah,
which is sad.
Ooh, that would be cool.
No, he said it was based on the time she passed out, fell face first into soup, and started to drown.
Well,
which I don't know why you would want to memorialize that, but that's why I'm not a gallery owner.
I think this is probably Christina is going to commit suicide in that position.
Okay.
At get this famous, get it set up, then wear the same clothes, hide the art, die in that position, and then nobody will notice for weeks until she starts to get rigor mortis and get stinky.
The rigor mortis isn't what makes you stinky.
Yeah, well, you get so hard and firm.
Wait, what are you doing?
Whoa, Mike.
What do you do when you look at a corpse?
You get so hard and firm.
I don't think that's
like
right.
It's stiff all over.
No.
Yeah.
All your bowels start to leak out.
I think it's fair to say that rigor mortis probably coincides with a certain smell. It may not be the worst the smell gets.
Coincides. But, a correlation, not causation.
Still, it's a marker.
So Brian, your feeling on Banksy is that he's not very good, or he's overblown, or he...
No, I feel like it's gone on long enough.
That you're just tired of the mystery.
It's not much of a mystery, and it just seems like the mystery only exists to promote something that I think became kind of trite really fast.
Right.
Like, I don't know that it's, and I'm not an art critic. I don't know. I'm sure people love it, but from the amount of times that this particular person comes up, you would almost think that it's the only artist that exists in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just
like, hey man, this guy's not Frank Frazetta.
Thank you.
How much do you think Banksy is worth? What is his net worth according to the internet?
It's got to be like 20 million or something.
70 to 90 million.
Brian loses because he's gone over, but I think you were the closest, which is the internet says between 50 million US dollars and 50 million Great British pounds, which comes out to 60 million US dollars.
Right. Isn't he some drummer in a band or something? Isn't that the thing now?
I don't know. There's a Wikipedia page that basically
what
goes,
a weird gig.
This is who Banksy is.
Right.
So I think it's time that we move on to a segment called Get to Know Your Podcast.
Oh.
In this episode of Getting to Know Your Podcast, we do go dig a little deeper into things we may or may not have mentioned and get to know us just a little bit more. And this was the final posting. Goodbye. The app has jumped the shark, literally. But I don't think he knew what the word literally meant there.
Yeah.
The app has jumped the shark literally due to clever individuals that were able to manipulate ways to impersonate me and others within the app. I have asked EscapeX, the company that runs the app, to shut it down immediately and refund anyone who has purchased any stars over the last 90 days. What was supposed to be a place for fans to connect with each other has turned into a place that is everything I detest and can't or won't condone. My sincere apologies for this to have not turned out the way it was intended. To all the super fans who have supported me with your words or encouragement, amazing art, stories, and time shared on the app, a genuine thank you. And I hope to see you on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. JR, Jeremy Renner. That was the last thing posted on the Jeremy Renner app.
Oh.
It flew. It was too good for this world.
There was such a thing?
Oh, yeah.
On September 4th, two-time Academy nominee and aspiring rock musician and member of the Avengers as a Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner announced that Jeremy Renner would be closing his app down.
Yeah.
Those of us on the Jeremy Renner app were treated with a push notification that said app coming down very soon, which revealed the final post on the app in papyrus-esque font, which is the font used in the title of Avatar. Jeremy Renner posted on Jeremy Renner that Jeremy Renner would be closing down Jeremy Renner. It was a tragedy. Sure, the Jeremy Renner app had sort of become a public joke. Well, let's get started. So Jeremy Renner had this app, right? This was in 2017. He launched this app, and it was designed as a little safe haven on the internet for super fans of Jeremy Renner. Jeremy Renner, of course, the actor who played Hawkeye and
Hurt Locker. He played
Hurt Locker. He played the title character of Hurt Locker.
Wow.
Yep.
In the movie Hurt Locker.
Yeah, was it Hurt Locker? Is that a first name or a last name?
His whole name was Thomas Hurt Locker. Everybody just called him Hurt Locker, though.
There's a part where he's having sex with a girl and he goes, "Now you're in the Hurt Locker." the Jeremy Renner being a guy, he kind of got famous initially off of a very indie budget movie about Jeffrey Dahmer. It might have even just been called Dahmer, but it was really like it was almost like a play where it was Dahmer and one victim, and it was mostly them kind of having a conversation. But I don't know, he just kind of popped into the consciousness and started getting work. And he's a guy that I don't ever really dislike on screen. Like, he's fine. I am a little bit baffled why he's as big as he is.
Yeah.
Like, he kind of seems to have more of a CSI type level of acting swagger to him.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, he's a very big actor. And in 2017, he decided, you know what? I'm doing this big enough. I'm going to go ahead and make myself an app. That's what the people are doing. They're making apps.
Right.
It was the app was made for people who are only really into Jeremy Renner. You know, it was like of all the Jeremy Renner apps out there, this was the one for people that like really like Jeremy Renner.
Right.
The community was far from idyllic, even in its downtime. A 2017 Ringer deep dive revealed that there was community drama stemming from deemed censorship. If you say mean things about Jeremy Renner, you get banned, which makes sense because it was supposed to be an app about him.
Right.
And also somebody was throwing a bogus contest. But interest in the Jeremy Renner app kind of quieted down after this, article about it. Then it hiked up dramatically in 2019. Ooh. In the past few months, coinciding with the success of Avengers Endgame and Jeremy Renner's push to become sort of a Imagine Dragons-esque kind of musician, he had a song called, he released a cover of Heaven Don't Have a Name, but he's got a couple other pretty banging radio rock songs. And when you sign up for the Jeremy Renner app, it would greet you with a short video of Jeremy Renner explaining that this app is for real fans, a place away from the negativity of social media. It's a real young Jeremy Renner, in which I think he has a little bit of eye makeup on. So it was basically like a Jeremy Renner Instagram feed that only put up Jeremy Renner Instagram comments, and then you could kind of comment under there, and they would post pictures with little captions and like things like, "I hope you're having a wonderful time," and "Jeremy, be a deer and make more delightful movies. Haha, just a little humor. Have a good day." And it'd be like him out in the forest with a deer.
Oh yeah, okay.
And the more you engaged in Jeremy Renner content, the more stars you earned, and the more stars meant you could boost your posts, making it more likely that Jeremy Renner would actually see your comments for reply. So you want to be as involved in there as much as possible, so you earn stars. Because if you're gonna say like, "Jeremy looking fly," you want the Ren Dog to see that, right?
Okay.
But let's just say that you don't have all. Yes, Brian?
Am I to believe that his ego is so fragile that he's cultivating stalkers? Is that what this is?
Oh, yeah, kind of.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what his real end game was, other than he wanted.
We never got there.
I think he wanted a social media site that was exclusively about him or things tangentially related to him and people that love him.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he also maybe wanted to make a little bit of money. So in lieu of maybe you don't have time to connect and comment on every single Jeremy Renner post, you could also buy stars. Stars were available to purchase. And you could be skeptical to think that people were going to shell out a bunch of money for Jeremy Renner's stars, but people were definitely doing that. I don't know how many, but it certainly was happening. Got to the point where the person writing this article downloaded it, was looking forward to Jeremy's. So you get these push notifications, and the push notifications would say Jeremy Renner, and then have like the little quote under that, and then you open it up. A weekly Happy Wren's Day.
Oh my God.
At some point. So people, it's basically like an app that didn't really amount to much, and people were kind of baffled, as there's people that love Jeremy Renner, and some people that got on there just to kind of see what was up with it and have it there. Things started to fall apart when, really on accident, and the guy wasn't even really trying to go. There's this comedian out of Canada named Stephen Heck, and Stephen got the Jeremy Renner app, and was just kind of like fascinated by celebrities and that have like a weird relationship with social media that don't quite get it. And Jeremy Renner does seem like one of those guys of like, I don't really know. He doesn't seem like a guy who knows how regular people think about stuff. Like doesn't know how much things cost anymore, Right. A gallon of milk, what's that, $80?
Right.
No. I need to go buy a new motorcycle. What's a mid-grade motorcycle? What, like $80, $90? I want to be that rich.
Okay, yeah.
At some point, Jeremy Renner puts up a Ren on it's a Friday, and he puts a picture of himself standing out in the woods with some binoculars, and he writes, "Have a rockin' weekend, everybody. What's the plan?" And I don't know. Somebody says, "Heart, heart, heart." Avenger Girl Tina 89 says, "How is this?" Balahindran Vichy says, "Have a good one, Jeremy." And then Stephen Heck wrote, I will be looking at porno on my computer.
Honest.
And then somebody wrote back to him and like commented on him, a friend who happened to be on there too. They just wrote, "Nasty, not cool." And he says, there is this weird thing that you get this push notification. You look at your phone, and what it looks like coming through, it just says Jeremy Renner with a picture of Jeremy Renner, because every single push notification is a picture of Jeremy Renner. And it says nasty, not cool. And Stephen Heck says, "I'm not going to lie to you. For about 12 seconds, I truly believe that actor Jeremy Renner thought porno was nasty." And then I discovered this message had been sent by my friend Jesse Farrar, that has previously mentioned that every official Jeremy Renner app push notification was cleverly disguised to trick the unassuming Marvel fans into thinking that Hawkeye had said "what's up" to them. So he posted the screen grabs up on Twitter. Everyone had a good laugh, and then he actually went out for the weekend on a camping trip, not doing porno. And job well done. You just thought it was that, but then when he came back, he realized that his tweet had blown up. Like everybody, it was just one of those weird Twitter things that just like completely explodes. And in the weekend, like everyone had gotten on board with this. The normally calm, welcoming landscape of the official Jeremy Renner app that I had grown to love over the past weekend appeared to have been irreversibly shattered. Dozens of false Renners had sprouted out, sowing chaos and pretending to like porno. Legitimate Renner fans were rightfully confused and terrified. Someone was on there pretending to be Casey Anthony. Much like the movies that had made Jeremy Renner a star, the Locker app had become Hurt. Lots of people were posting about porno on it, and I had still not seen that movie in question. So Stephen X said he went back and tweeted, "Jeremy, I would love to, but I'm currently looking at some porno." And somebody was like, there's a real fan immediately mad. "Warning, this is a big porno troll. Do not engage with him." So things went off the thing. That the next Wednesday, Jeremy posts, "Happy Wren's Day." And then somebody under the name Jeremy Renner Porno Truth posted, "Without freedom of speech, there is no modern world, just a barbaric one. I, Huawei, give it something to ponder given the recent wave of bannings on here." So Stefan Eck gets banned, and he writes, I was one more Renner banning away from changing to my Twitter profile to an ancient Greek statue and becoming very concerned about the decline of the West when I decided that enough was enough. It was time to step back. There was nothing else I could do. We were stuck in an impasse. Jeremy Renner would never respect porno, and I would never be allowed to post on his official app as a misguided attempt to convince him to respect porno. So everything just completely and totally falls apart, and it just the app becomes more people just fucking with the app, you know. And later on, after Jeremy Renner says he's taking down the app, this Stefan Heck guy gets in and is like, hey man, sorry about posting the word porno on your app. I didn't really think it would completely fuck up the whole deal on here. I thought you were pretty good in that Bourne movie that I'm not 100% sure you were in now that I'm actually typing this out. So yeah, Jeremy Renner put it down, but I wanted to read some of there's you can find a lot of this online. There's a lot of really fun Rennerisms that happened on there. Somebody wrote, somebody pretending to be Jeremy Renner wrote, to everyone criticizing my app because Casey Anthony has created an account and is posting on the fan cage, spare me your tears. This is an all-inclusive app. If you don't like it, you are free to leave. Then somebody writes back, you are not the real Jeremy. You were a big fake. Jeremy Renner posted a picture of himself with half a shirt on, and someone wrote, have fun, Jeremy. And then someone whose avatar was at Walt Disney World posted, looking like you're having a great time, Jeremy. Love to see your nips on display. Have a magical day. And O.J. Simpson posted, hey, Jeremy, want to join my fantasy league? Who else? What are some other good ones here? We've got Jeremy Renner would also post a lot of food shots, like just a pile, like the real Jeremy Renner, a pile of you got Dennis Franz. Great picture, John. This reminds me of all the great hair and wigs our makeup department had on the set of my popular television show, NYPD Blue. That's what a fake Dennis Franz put up next to someone that had claimed to be John Bon Jovi saying, love you, Renz.
How quickly from the first gonna watch porn all weekend post that kicked this off, like what was the speed of the end?
It only lasted about a month.
So there was only 1 month before it was too much, and he just called it quits.
Yeah, apparently it was innocuously up and happy for a while.
For like 2 years, it sounds like.
What are the odds that Jeremy Renner actually was the one who posted anything, or was even aware of this beyond its existence? Like, did he act? Do we have evidence that he actually was upset about this?
I believe that he had to have been. I know he put out some of the music. It is so Imagine Dragons-y and bad, and there's videos to it where he is completely committed. And I have a friend who has a friend who edited one of the videos, and he refused to pay him the $500 of editing the video. $500 apparently said something to the effect of he can't dig. He wouldn't pay him because the guy was too negative and he couldn't deal with all this negativity. But when he closed it down, there was one user that put, this is so upsetting. Being a big time Jeremy Renner fan, I've had so much fun on this app since it came out, making new friends and even getting my adult children signed up. My wife and I announced our divorce on here. And now, because of a few bad apples, it's all lost. Just a damn shame. Don't cry because the Jeremy app is gone. Smile because it ever existed. If only, and then someone wrote, if only his wife could have cheated on him with Mr. Renner, he could have lived his dream. There was somebody who was claiming, who was going by the name Jeremy Renner, Jeremy Renner with bad photoshopped wig on, and he would write things like, Jeremy, I have longed for this day since you and I have been born from the tubes. There's an ongoing thing that there are multiple Jeremy Renner clones. Always I have been the abomination. Never have I tasted quote unquote sun. No longer. I will destroy Jeremy. What will be yours will be mine. Soon I will be the Hawkeye. Before long, it will be I that will have the fun app. When I destroy you, I will soon kiss your wife. This will be good. Do not fear, I come soon. Just a lot of good stuff on here. Candid photo, Casey Anthony saying, candid photo. Hey, Jeremy Renner, I am your biggest fan. So was my kid. Jeffrey Epstein saying, guys, I'm not dead, nor am I in prison. I'm now resting on my private island whilst getting a blowjob by your boy, Jeremiah Renner. Then another Jeremy Renner putting, holy F, is this real? And then other people saying, I love your work, Casey. So it just went from there. Just a little throwback to a time when the internet was still lovely and beautiful. I don't know. I feel like Jeremy Renner, if he hasn't come up yet, he probably will. But
I think we talked about him early on for sure.
Oh, but yeah, the reason that's even came up is because the Ren dog is in the hospital right now. He got in a wreck and a snowplow drove over one of his legs.
Oh.
What?
I
feel like the rug just got pulled out. I feel like you just set me up to laugh at Jeremy Renner.
I know.
Only to tell me he's now
fighting.
He's fighting for his life in the hospital after a tragic snowplow accident, which also sounds like a fake thing from his app.
I'm a little worried that it might be Jeremy Renner that was involved.
Right.
He was airlifted after a snowplow accident. 12 hours ago, 20 hours ago, he was in critical but stable condition.
Well, that's good.
All right.
He suffered blunt chest trauma and orthopedic injuries.
So he got hammered by a snowplow.
Sounds like it.
That's a hard thing, but it does every once in a while. A story like this. This is a bit of a redeeming humanity a little bit, that something like this could exist and then fail because people made fun of it so much that it only took 1 month for people to reject a human being having an app dedicated to them, which is pretty great. That just needs to happen a little more often.
I don't even dislike Jeremy Renner so much, but there is like a weird thing with some actor guys, like leading man actor guys that are just actor guys, where you really wonder, like, what is your deal? What's going on there? Like, there's a name that came up a lot when looking at this is Garth Brooks. There's a podcast that Tom Segura does where they've kind of like pointed this out a lot, where Garth Brooks is a guy who is so famous. Like when he goes on tour, like now, like he still does like Beyonce tour numbers, right? Like I know, like we don't really hear about him. I don't hear about him very much in my sphere, but like he's huge. But he's been so famous for so long that I don't think he like knows. You just kind of forget what things are worth and what people are, and really how to connect with like human beings. And I think a lot of actors, especially people that just act, that don't come from like stand up or even like theater, like, but definitely like actor, leading man actors. A lot of them have this weird quality of like, I don't really, there's not much of a personality for me as a person. I'm very easy to put on personalities.
Okay.
A lot of my personality has been heavily coached to be nondescript and a general non-specific likability.
Yeah.
Right.
And and there's like a weirdness about that when somebody is really successful, especially at a young age, or comes from money. And because a lot of these actor guys, like, more often than not, people didn't do really good at a high school play and get told they have talent and just like graduate high school and have a hope and a prayer and get on a bus and go to LA and start working. Like more often than not, it's like if you see somebody in a movie or on TV, the chances are that they came from a lot of money, if not a lot of money plus a lot of money tied into show business. It's pretty high. And the more famous the movie or actor is, the more likely that is.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a connection with somebody who's had to, like, you know, spend a lot of chunks of their life worrying about rent, you know, worry about money in a way that most people worry about money. And I do feel like once you get that crazy A level and there's like multiple people whose job every day is to kind of float around you and make sure that you're happy, like that's got to just do a real psychological squibble-de-doo on your brain after a while. Yeah. You got to start to not really know how to, you know, and also a number of people that are making a lot of money off you. So they're constantly telling you the way you need to look and the way you need to act and the things you need to do. It's got to just kind of make it so your personality just becomes a little, like, a lot of your success comes from being this kind of bland person that can seamlessly kind of blend to a broad audience.
Well, he's also kind of inexplicably an action star, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like people who fall into that category of actors, like most of them seem like they have a background that somehow justifies or kind of leads, you know, Sylvester Stallone was a mountain climber, right? He did stuff, and the former governor of California was apparently a weightlifter for a while. But it's weird.
Was he an actor too? Are you talking about Ronald Reagan?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Oh, Ronald Reagan. Yeah. He lifted weights.
Yeah, and I met Jerry Brown.
What was he in again?
Behind the Green Door. Is that what it's called?
Smokey and the Bandit.
It's weird that you play these roles, but there is very likely nothing in his life that is like any of those things. But he portrays himself in life as this, like Johnny Depp seems like another kind of fraudulent human being to me. You almost have to become this kind of artist type.
Bob Dylan.
Oh, I forgot Mark hated Bob Dylan.
Seems like the ultimate fraud to me.
Does he?
Yeah.
How so? And I'm not arguing with you, but I know people who would. Have you ever made someone cry with this opinion before? Because people are weird about Bob Dylan.
They are.
Like average people that you wouldn't think are going to get real weird about you saying you don't like Bob Dylan will get real weird about you saying you don't like Bob Dylan.
I know. I've known a lot of people who are huge fans, but I think like over time, like it's pretty clear that his whole thing was just a complete facade to be famous and be famous in that way, that to think that he's a genius.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Right. That he was perhaps a talented musician, but a talented musician who set out to do this and create this character.
Right. 100%.
Okay.
Is that okay? He wasn't very nice at Donovan.
No,
he was not.
He doesn't care who threw the glass. He just wants to know who threw the glass.
Bob Dylan's a guy that he's kind of like Prince in that I will meet people who will claim to be the biggest Prince or Bob Dylan fans, and then it doesn't take a lot of probing. You can't be obvious about it. Be like, oh, what do you like? Like, what's tell me some of the favorite records, and they'll be like, your Prince, like, what are your favorite records? Like, like Purple Rain and that first one with Nicky. You're like, yeah, no, he has like 7,000 records.
Right.
I mean, yeah, like those are great ones too, but like what else do you and I don't I'm not like, oh, I'm a bigger Prince fan. I am not a bigger Prince fan. Like I liked those records a lot, but a lot of that like Prince stuff, I'm like, I don't know. It's really like he is a crazy good musician, but it's not, I don't really like listen to it and stuff. And I have to question like, well, what are your songs that aren't on the 3 biggest records that he did that everyone knows that you really fucking dig?
Yeah.
And it's never, you won't, I'm not saying that there aren't Prince fans out there who were ready to fucking throw down that gauntlet. It's just all the big Prince fans I know, at least 90% of them, 95% can't name. And I would venture to say, similar with Bob Dylan, a little bit less because I definitely, I mean, with my friends, again, there are some that definitely seem to know like a little bit more, where it's like, wow, there's this era, I like these from this era and these from this era, but it's also like, and I'm not saying that you can't be a fan of something and not know every, and you can still be a big fan. Like I would claim to be a really
lot of gatekeeping from Mike right now.
No, I would claim I'm a very big Rolling Stones fan, but there's a bunch of stuff that like I don't know about and stuff too.
It sounds like, from an earlier episode that you're not a big enough fan to pay for tickets to get in.
Right.
You'll just sneak in.
You took food out of their mouths. They went hungry.
Yeah.
They got kids in college.
Yeah. They've got wives in college.
Oh. Well, and Mark, I wonder, in like I think Prince is a good example insofar as people who it's almost, you're claiming this huge fandom when it's really like, no, everybody's that big of a fan of Prince. Like, everybody likes those songs.
Yeah, everybody knows.
We've all heard them our whole lives.
Yeah, and everybody knows that he is an iconic, amazing musician, and nobody there isn't anybody that's gonna like argue with you on that.
But I feel like maybe that's a difference between what Mark is saying and Prince. Like I also have not listened to very much Prince at all, but I am perfectly comfortable conceding he's probably a tremendous musician. Like, he is. I don't know that he is, but I'm sure he is. He may not play things I like, but I still can recognize it's like later Billy Joel records. Like, I don't think anybody wants to listen to that stuff, but he's apparently a very good piano player.
He's literally the piano man.
But Bob Dylan, I could see how like his voice is a bit of a put on, right? And the way he kind of leans into that, I'm Bob Dylan, like it just gets more and more, and he just becomes a caricature of the thing he created. You know what? I'm buying into it, Mark. I'm also against Bob Dylan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like I bring up Bob Dylan and open a whole can of worms, but I felt like that was like actually relevant to the Jeremy Renner, like the fame thing, because like it seems the same kind of thing to me. Like,
I don't think Jeremy Renner was that strategic though with his fame. I think he's just kind of a frat boy who.
Bob Dylan definitely is one of those like people who are. I think we're getting to a world increasingly more and more where actors will continue to make as much equivalent money as actors in the past. Whatever the most paid actor now is probably not that far off from the same dollar amount of the most paid actor in 1952, if you adjusting for inflation and all that kind of stuff. I think like budgets and salaries for all that stuff will, for really famous, for the upper A-list people, will probably stay the same. But I do think that fame and the idea of fame will diminish and has been diminishing because of streaming and the internet in general, and the fact that it's so easy for people to kind of lean into whatever their niche interests are now. There's not like the same top 10 movie stars that every single human being from the age of 80 to 8 years old knows anymore, Like, I always think about the fact when Michael Jackson was at the Thriller era, that I was probably, 8 to 12, I guess. I don't know. How old were we? Probably 8 years old, 9 years old.
Maybe even younger. Yeah.
But we all knew who that was and who Michael Jackson was. And of course, every kid up through junior high, high school, college, he was that famous. Our parents knew who he was.
Right.
And my grandparents knew who he was. I don't think that they could probably identify this song, but they knew about this guy, Michael Jackson, with all that. But like, I don't think that, I doubt that maybe as of recently, some grandparents might know who Kanye West is, maybe. But I doubt anybody, I don't think that there's many stars who have that same kind of weird thing where Kanye West still shows up at places. Like Michael Jackson could only show up. He was so famous that he would have to have like a literal army around him. Not literal, but they would have to, but he would like to have like a small, SWAT team around him.
Yeah.
Like a huge, so many bodies, everything. He was like a guy that could not go anywhere. But I think Jeremy Renner can go get gas at a gas station, and there's depending on where he is, there's only, it's probably a 50% to 80% chance that somebody's going to go oh, hey man, Hawkeye.
Right.
And even then they're not going to freak out and start crying. Like Michael Jackson was a guy that people would just melt into a puddle. And like,
yeah.
Same with Bob Dylan. Same with Prince.
Same with Bob Dylan. Okay.
Yeah.
Full circle.
So that wraps up another week of the International News Service. Find us across social media at International News Pod. Email us at internationalnewspod@gmail.com. You know what's easier and cheaper than paying the fake parking ticket you get at the beach? That's our Patreon. Check out the INS merch store at Redbubble, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the International News Service. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. INS, the news you need.